Hi, welcome back to this new episode of the IR Strikes Back. So today we talk about Canada. Recently, we elected in Canada a liberal government, which is a minority government. It requires 3 more seats to be a full-fledged government. And it recently got out its budget. This is one of the 2 options in which a government in Canada can be overthrown. It's based on budget or a vote of non-confidence. So, this movie was made in 2015, but it really reflects the actuality, which is why we are analyzing this one today. It's called My Internship in Canada.
If you don't speak French, go watch this movie with subtitle, please, and come back to this video.
Because yes, it is on Netflix, so you don't have any more excuses.
So now, let's start.
This is the story of the MP, Member of Parliament, Gibor, which is representing an imaginary part of the province of Quebec called Rapide-aux-Outars. And there's Souverain, which comes from all the way from Haiti, Port-au-Prince, to make an internship at the office of the MP Gibor. This movie really represents how complicated are the politics in Canada. Because as you might know, there's actually 3 levels of government. There's the federal, so all Canada. There's the provincial, so for example, here, the government of Quebec. And then there's the municipal level. So all politicians have to juggle with that, especially when there's shared competence. And here, this movie is basically on these, again, clash of competence.
But this movie is also about the Indigenous.
Because what happens in the movie? Why is there a clash of competence? It's because of the First Nations.
Yeah, they block the road.
And why is it complicated? It's because the First Nation is federal competency. But the object of the misunderstanding is mines and the forest industry. But this is provincial, and it bothers all the lumberjacks and the miners, which are at the municipal level. So this is the micmac in which we step in.
Which refers to the Oka crisis. The Mohawks were against a construction project in their land
that wanted to expand a gulf, but the expansion would overstep their territory on which there was a cemetery.
This conflict ended up with the Canadian Army intervention.
So we can see that whenever this kind of conflict happens, it's very complicated. And we had a more recent example in which I believe that First Nation blocked a railroad which blocked all the supply chains in Canada, which made it difficult to obtain shipments for many businesses. And it literally slowed the economy temporarily. So here we're stuck in something similar because the First Nation are blocking the 119 roads, which is the only road in this region that links all the other cities around. And that is really important to travel and transport goods. And they're blocking the roads because, one, they're exploiting their woods. And it pollutes the environment on which they're, again, really dependent. And also it highlights the fact that most reserves are less developed than normal municipalities.
If you want to learn more about the Indigenous story, please look up at their website. Also, we talk a little about the relation between the Canadian government and the Indigenous people in our episode about Wicked Part 1.
So, when they say that in the movie, there's not any blockage that lasted more than 3 days, we can tell you it's a false information nowadays. And this movie also highlights the fact that the counties that are more remote are often overlooked and forgotten in elections. As we mentioned, the Member of Parliament, MP Gibbord, is independent because he got beef with the Liberals and he doesn't want to side with the Conservative government. And the other important part of this movie is the fact that the Conservative Prime Minister wants to send troops abroad. And he needs the vote of the Parliament to send troops. And he has a majority. But something unexpected happens. One of his member of Parliament from his party falls apparently sick due to apparently a breast operation. Apparently. That's what he tells Gibbord. He calls him to Ottawa and tells him that he needs his vote because he realized that due to the fact that this member of parliament will abstain because she's just unable to vote actually due to so-called operation, it means that he needs the vote of the only independent MP, which is Gibbord. And then Gibbord ended up having the fate of Canada in his hands. And this refers to a real event that happened in Canada. Not the fact that the Conservative government almost became a minority government, but the fact that Canada sent troops abroad. It's something that happened. It's something that Stephen Harper did during his third term. Because it's only in 2015-ish that the government became liberal under Justin Trudeau, as you might know. And during his third term, Stephen Harper launched a military operation in Iraq and Syria against the Islamic State, so a terrorist group, and retreated from the Kyoto Protocol, which is for climate changes, and decided to remove some restriction about weapons. So this Prime Minister is clearly based on Stephen Harper, and we see that he tries to offer a ministry to MP Gibbord, and Gibbord is very tempted by that. And also, it's interesting to note a small side note on that meeting is that we see the daughter of this imaginary, not so imaginary, Prime Minister that sees Souverain and asking, "What are you doing here?" And explain that he's with MP Gibbord. And first, she don't even think of speaking French. It's immediately English. And then she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't follow politics. You can help yourself with some fruits." After that, she just goes away. So this shows us that the youth in 2015 is represented as not caring that much about politics.
But it's not true. Gen Z are interested in politics. Go look at our new podcast show, Gen Z Poll. The link will be in our bio.
And also, another fun fact while we're at it, do you know that the phone that MP Gibbord is holding is a BlackBerry? So, for those that don't know, BlackBerry is Canadian made in Waterloo. And if you're interested by the story of BlackBerry, go look up over our heads the link for the episode that we made on the film on BlackBerry. And in this same episode, we talk about Turning Red, in which we talk about the Canadian identity.
The national sport of Canada is hockey, and we are very proud of it. They talk about the World Junior League of Hockey in which Gibao made the winning goal against Russia. Let me tell you something. In 1991, Canada wins the goal against USSR. It was the first time in history that the gold medal was won at home.
So, literally, not only are we saying it in Turning Red, but they literally states it in this movie, My Internship in Canada. Gibor tells Souverain that the Canadian identity is two things. It's based on hockey, as Lauren said, and the Constitution. What are we talking in this movie? Hockey and the Constitution. Boom.
Sport in Canada is very important, as we saw in the movie. The Canadian Prime Minister congratulated Gibor about his winning goal like 10 years after this goal. And just to let you know, he was in the Canadian team. And the Prime Minister remembers that. We can link that with the actuality. Last week, if I'm not wrong, the Blues Jays played against the LA Dodgers in the baseball league. And that was a main event for the Canadian.
So the Prime Minister remembers that Gibor was a hockey player, and to make him lean towards his point of view, he says, regarding the junior league, that day you make us all proud to be Canadian. To make his decision, the MP, the Gibor, decides to console his electors. Doesn't that make you think of something that is very Quebecer, that we just celebrated its anniversary last week?
The referendum.
What is the referendum, Lawrence?
It's a vote that happened in Quebec to know if the Quebecer wanted to be independent.
So he decided to console his electors, but something happens. There's the Freedom Canadian movement-ish that arrives in bus and tries to make him change his mind. But that makes us think about the
Freedom Convoy.
What is it?
It was a big event in Canada where the trucker blocked the road to represent their opposition against the COVID-19 measure
imposed by the Liberal government. That also makes us think of a movement which is at the opposite political spectrum, which is the Encampment for Palestine that happened recently at McGill, in which students from McGill decided to express their opinion about the political stance of McGill regarding the Israelo-Palestinian conflict. And they decided to manifest their disagreement with McGill regarding that by creating an encampment. And it was a big issue because it wasn't just in Canada, it happened on different university campus, and these encampments are still a big part of a big political debate regarding how much we should let university take a political stand or not.
Talking about war, when Gibal talked with his community, with its population, one local said that war will create jobs for them. It referred to the world wars, where the wars create jobs for women because the men were on the battlefield.
This also refers to the military-industrial complex that was built on wars conducted by mainly the US and supported by different countries. So yes, this refers to a reality. Wars and the suffering of others create jobs in another part of the world. And to conclude this episode is very important for Canadians to watch because the actuality leads us to a similar situation.
If you like this episode, please like. Don't forget to subscribe. If you are part of the Indigenous community, please let us know. We are currently looking for a guest for our new episode. With that, see you on the next
episode.
Ciao!
Ciao!